Yoffe.
Welcome to the Femsplainers. I'm Danielle Crittenden.
And I'm Christina Hoff-Summers.
And it's cocktail party episode. We are joined in the studio with, well, not cocktails, white wine, with Meghan Cox Gordon, one of our favorite Femsplainers, Wall Street Journal book critic and author of The Enchanted Hour, The Miraculous Power of Reading Aloud in the Age of Distraction, now out in paperback. And another one of our favorite Femsplainers, Emily Yoffe, contributor to The Atlantic. Welcome back, Emily.
So great to be here.
And we're ready to go. Everybody's got their drinks, and
Except for Miss Teetotaler.
I poured myself wine after.
I don't believe that's wine.
I don't believe it's not. It looks like a urine sample, but it is wine.
It will be.
After what happened on the way, as we were on our way to this podcast, Christina had a plumbing emergency, and it
Not
looked like
personal.
No.
Speaking of urine samples,
In my bathroom, and I have this dog wallpaper. It has been ruined.
Oh no.
Well, I have some extras. Maybe we can. Is anybody out there who can repair wallpaper?
But yes, so we thought we would have to postpone this. So we're very glad to all be here, and yes, that's why I'm drinking, Christina. But anyway, we, as we like to do on the cocktail party, invite our guests to bring the topics that they want to talk about, and then we just roll from there. And Emily, I thought we'd want to talk with you because you are introducing a topic that may bring order to this podcast,
yes.
to this party, this corporate party that we're holding here.
Order
best
and fear. Best practices for groups gathered together
In professional settings.
You
settings.
didn't hand me your code of conduct, and I think after we talk about this, the Femsplainer is going to have to create one.
Ooh.
the Femsplainer Code of Conduct.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
So this comes from a column upcoming in the Skeptic magazine by the great Carol Tavris, who's a social psychologist. And she's writing about codes of conduct that are increasingly being used at any kind of conference, any group gathering. When you arrive, you get handed this sheet of paper. And she says these things are perhaps troubling, problematic, and creating more of a mess than they're solving. And she looks at two organizations and compares them. So one comes from the Society for the Scientific Study of Sexuality, SSS.
I love it.
It says, yes.
It's like a cat calling, like sort of subtweet.
And its Sexual Harassment Task Force recently created a statement of values and expectations, a code of conduct, and a set of procedures. It is 5 single-spaced pages.
Wow.
And
it'll take a while to get.
well, I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll just highlight. Some of them are, kind of aimed presumably at the kindergarten market. Don't interrupt a speaker unless the speaker says that would be okay. But actually a conference should say, we're going to take questions at the end, or, that you have to get this on a piece of paper.
Also, it raises the possibility that you have to go around the room at the first. This is Meghan, by the way. You go around the room at the very beginning and say, my name is Meghan, and it's okay for you guys to interrupt me. Because how would you know unless somebody gives you permission that you're allowed to interrupt them? So if you interrupt them.
I'm going to interrupt you right now.
See, it's happening.
You just gave me permission. Sorry, carry on.
Another one. Now, remember, we're talking about the Scientific Study of Sexuality conference or gathering. Don't comment on people's bodies, appearance, or sex appeal.
That seems kind of obvious. I think we've all got that message.
Okay. But here's my favorite one, particularly given the organization. Do not call people by gendered titles or pronouns unless they have directly disclosed their gender. Do not call individuals by non-disclosed gender titles or pronouns. They have to tell you. You are not permitted to ask attendees about their sexual identity.
Well, that's always my
So-
first question, honestly.
So how does this work? You're standing in a group, you're saying, hey, should we all go out to dinner? And then someone says, well, wait a minute, we should include Bob because but you haven't asked, is Bob he? So you're making an assumption, but you can't ask Bob direct. I mean, this is a group of sexuality experts, and I don't even know how anyone moves forward. How do you ask or not ask? Or as you say, Meghan, do you start? But then you have to say, people have to say, and what if you don't want to say? And I don't know about you, ladies, if you don't mind my making that assumption.
Presumption.
Whoa.
Do any of you want to be asked what your gender is?
Abso-freaking-lutely not. It's kind of, if it's not obvious, I'm going to be outraged.
Don't tell me I look like a man.
Exactly. Or ambiguous. No.
That point where we all become invisible in middle age. You just don't see me.
Your heterosexual privilege is showing.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
saying.
I know. Well, I like this one. I'm looking at it. Be cautious about inviting individuals with less professional or institutional power to private locations or to become inebriated with you, as they may not feel free to decline without repercussions. Well, that kills our studio policy. I think we can't adopt this because we invite everybody to come and get inebriated with us. But you guys don't have less power than we do. So
Okay, but don't forget this one, which is paired with it. Don't get drunk, stoned, or high on anything that might lead to interference with the scientific and social agendas.
but what about the other agendas? That's okay then.
What other agendas are there at one of these conferences?
Then to get laid is
No, that would help. Okay.
Okay, but just let me, because
Yeah.
Carol, because this kind of thing, this 5 pages of rules of behavior, plus the no matter what you do, you can't ask, but you can't assume what someone's gender is, but you have to use the right pronouns, but again, you can't ask. Okay, well, she does very helpfully point out there's another end of the spectrum. Some organizations are not going this way. And she says, here's what the board of the Society for Applied Research in Memory and Cognition unanimously approved. Our organization is committed to being a friendly, supportive, and inclusive professional society, one in which everyone is treated with respect. We work hard so that our conferences deliver on that commitment. If your experiences during the conference fall short of our expectations, please speak with a member of the governing board and we'll do what we can to help. Okay,
Beautiful.
Yes.
Simple,
Human.
civilized.
Humane.
Yes.
Adult.
Yes.
Treating people as if they're not ill-behaved children or sex monsters.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that's interesting about this, the previous,
if you dropped 2 S's from that,
it would still be it would be double S's.
as
But there's also this encouragement for adults to turn each other in for infractions. We've seen this in the children's book business, where there's an author called Tim Tingle who actually had his book withdrawn last year because at a conference he did what 2, I think they were both booksellers, accused him. He came up to them and he spoke in a kind of jovial manner. I believe he kind of maybe touched one on the shoulder, touched one possibly on the head, maybe touched one of their knees, but he's obviously a handsy guy. They described
His name is Tim Tingle.
Tim Tingle, and he was
dear.
a very successful and, in fact, Native American writer. And he was the booksellers described his actions as doing a Joe Biden. And anyway,
Wow.
but instead, I mean, I believe that at the time they kind of complained to him, "Hey, buddy, hands off, don't touch me." Very sort of, But they also then reported him to whatever the conference organizers were. And from that came this cascade of consequences. And I think that's something, we see this also in the UK a lot. People are constantly saying, have you reported that person? Have you told the authorities? It's as though adults are kind of ceding their ability to manage themselves and their environment and, a little rough and tumble of the world. I mean,
But Meghan, this comes, we've talked about this, so much of this comes directly out of the campus Title IX rules, which the spilling over the ivy walls of these crazy, crazy rules into society at large has happened so quickly because on campus there are entire bureaucracies, very well-paid, well-funded bureaucracies that monitor this, and their existence depends on reporting everything. So there's this kind of East Germany Stasi quality
SS.
to social life that is now spilling into the adult world. And I know people who grew up in East Germany. We don't want to live like that.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? You're absolutely right. It came out of the Title IX, and not just Title IX, a misunderstanding of Title IX that was just sort of randomly reinterpreted by some busybodies in 2016. Or no, it was 2011 by the Dear Colleague letter. They wrote a letter.
This was the Department of Education
during the Obama
Russell and Ali, and they wrote a letter, changed the rules, because the Supreme Court had, when they ruled on sexual harassment, they were worried that the courts would end up sort of policing casual conversation and become, the mismanners for the country, and they didn't want to be that. So they said harassing behavior, it has to be severe and pervasive and just so horrible that no reasonable person could be expected to,
put up with it.
Put up with it. Well, that's the law, but that's not what came out of the Title IX. They reinterpreted, and now what we're seeing is that this busybody, unknown person wrote this letter, scared the schools, but then they created a bureaucracy around it. And now...
And the mindset. The mindset that some authority has to come in and swoop in and stop you from feeling unpleasant feelings or from having momentary discomfort.
Well, didn't you tell me that they're creating some sort of Alexa-like bot?
Well, this just came out
monitor
today that now...
But you can have the SS Alexa in your conference room to monitor
Northeastern University researchers are embarking on a project to yield an Alexa-like device that could be used in professional settings to alert users to instances of implicit bias. And say, for example, one of you used the word you guys, to refer to ladies, women, female-identified persons. Suppose that you did that, then it would go beep, 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 or there'd be a little message. I mean, this is...
What's its voice? Is it like Hal?
It is Hal. It's the panopticon but it's coming from. I don't even call this the left. It's coming from these bureaucracies that have metastasized into HR. It's a lot of people with too much time in their hands.
And a need to justify their salary.
To justify that, exactly.
Right. And going to too many conferences and networking.
Where they misbehave themselves. But
Christina, you are characterizing the HR community in a negative way. Are you sure you wish to do that?
I'm sorry.
No, we're all going to be like Winston Smith in 1984 eventually. You remember that there's that scene, I think it's fairly early in the book, where he discovers that there's a tiny corner of his apartment where he can sit without being observed. And
by the screen in his apartment.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, that'll be us.
Yeah, well, the studio is always a safe space where we recklessly intoxicate you. And
is it always 1962 in here?
It's always
1962. All right, Meghan Cox Gordon.
Oh,
I love the
I feel like I'm in trouble now.
Meghan Cox Gordon. You have, in your book critic capacity, you wanted to come in, I believe, and talk about this controversy over American Dirt.
Well, American Dirt is not, of course, in my wheelhouse. It's not a children's book. But what we're seeing...
That's true. We should specify that...
I write about children's books.
And young adult
books.
fiction.
And baby books.
And baby
graphic
books.
novels. And all, it's an enormous and very important
you
section.
are a grown-up.
I am a grown-up. But I have many children, and that I think, and I've been doing it for a long time, whatever. But
you can have opinions on grown-up books, which American Dirt is.
I am allowed to have opinions?
I think so. Even though you are not a small person, you may, in this space, express opinions.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm very grateful to that. No,
how can you review children's books if you're not a child?
Yeah. Okay, we are not going down this road. Okay, you're invalidating me and you're erasing my experience right now. So we're not going to.
Okay, American Dirt.
No, what is important about American Dirt, actually, it dovetails exactly with what we were just talking about, which is that we are in this hypersensitive environment now where people are interpreting small encounters as harm. They're interpreting the spoken word and the written word as almost a kind of physical harm. And we have this kind of extraordinary sort of, Well, like we know that in Australia, right, there's been these horrible forest fires. And we are encountering a kind of forest fire in our society now. Oh, and it flares up one thing or another. It might be a campus controversy. It might be something to do with a sexual harassment case or whatever.
Might be a wallaby.
But what it is that intersectionality, social justice, these ideologies that have taken root on campus and really settled themselves, Christina, you described it very beautifully, are metastasizing and moving into the adult sphere. And it's
So like the fires, you think they're out, but they continue.
Smoldering, or they go underground. They're like root fires, and suddenly they're popping up everywhere. And so, American Dirt, as your listeners probably know, is because
explain the controversy. Because not everyone knows it.
All right, so, well, first I'm going to describe it from the perspective of a person who has a book on the market right now, and that is when I saw this new book was coming out, American Dirt, about the migrant experience, a very sympathetic account of
a novel.
It's a novel, exactly, about the experience of Mexican migrants trying to make it across the Rio Grande and into the United States. The enormous push from the industry. It's published by Flatiron Books. They must have thought they had a monster hit on their hands.
An Oprah book.
It was an Oprah book. It was in Canada, a very powerful woman named Heather Reisman promoted it in her world. I think it was possibly Barnes & Noble. Anyway, so just as a layman, you see this book coming and you think, wow, whoever this author is, good for her. And I think one of you said, Christina, maybe that she got $1 million advance or a seven-figure advance, which is great. I mean, good for her.
You're sounding very sporting.
I'm
I know you
super
don't
jealous.
feel it. But
Go on. Myself. Oh, God.
Go
But
on.
you know what? Also, so here she is, and she must herself have thought, oh, my word, I'm going to be the next J.K. Rowling or whatever. And then came the pushback that she is not authentic enough, that she is profiting off other people's pain. She herself is not Mexican.
Right. She's half Puerto Rican and half Irish, correct?
No, her husband is Irish, and he was, I don't know if he still is, but was an undocumented resident. And
but that doesn't count if you're Irish.
Well, it does.
Apparently.
You get caught by the, by
Right.
the authorities.
But
But
that-
anyway,
yeah.
so there was this just enormous blowback. The first I heard of it was the novelist Lauren. I'm going to say Groff. I always get this wrong.
I think Groff.
She did a review of the book in which she agonized about really
agonized.
loving it.
She loved
even
it,
though
but
Where
felt
did this
bad in the
appear?
New York Times.
New York Times, yeah. She agonized about responding well to this book because she felt that it was the author was white, and how could she endorse and put her kind of, her imprimatur on a book that was about brown people, that was written by a white author.
What is she? I mean, not to get into SS like genetics here, but
Well, that's
if
what's
she's
actually
Puerto
being-
Rican.
No, she has one
A
grandparent.
grandmother who's Puerto Rican, yeah.
Oh, I
okay,
have
so
one
she's-
grandmother who's Mexican, so I feel like I should be.
Now we're getting to Elizabeth Warren. You're like part
My
Native
grandmother's
American.
from Guadalajara.
Well, no, this is
She's Mexican. I feel like I'm being silenced here, and I should be talking about
no.
this
If
book.
you identify as white at any point prior to the time that the mob settles on you, you can't then retroactively claim your grandmother's. That's what's happened with this poor woman.
But it's also regardless, like whatever color she is, if she's written a beautiful novel, powerful novel that everyone's agreed.
Well, explain
it
the
brings-
blowback that she's experiencing.
Yeah. I mean, then
which is-
why
major
should it
authors.
matter? Why should it matter?
Why should it matter?
Charles
Well, this is-
Dickens didn't work
no,
in factories.
Well, he did actually as a child. He worked in a bootblacking
true,
factory.
true,
yeah.
true.
But explain what's happened
Right,
to
he
her and
gets a
the
pass.
unendorsements and the cancellation
Actually,
of her tour.
you go.
Well, she before the book came out, the publishers reached out to many Latin authors saying, would you endorse this book because of the subject matter? So she got many prominent Hispanic writers to write glowing blurbs. They have all been pressured to withdraw their endorsements. Some of them have.
Right.
And I think
One brave girl who's still holding out, I think, or woman, or non-identified
the
female.
actress Salma Hayek,
Right.
I think, acknowledged she did endorse, hadn't read the book, and now she's unendorsing, still haven't read the book.
It's worse actually admitting you haven't read the book and you gave an endorsement.
And just the other day,
I would die before admitting that.
just the other day. So this book is a huge book. It's debuted at the top of the bestseller list, and she had a huge tour, which has been canceled. And
Threats of violence.
threats of violence.
And then that claim, which was made by the publisher, apparently, has been turned back on her and the publisher
As racist.
as racist. Exactly. Oh, are you suggesting that just because we're angry and we're brown that we're some kind of
Wow.
terrible mob? So I mean, the truth of the matter is,
I
and
didn't
this is-
even believe there was likely to be violence at these.
Yeah, I mean, with the level of discourse, it won't be surprising when violence actually happens. It will be very terrible, and it's alarming. And this is the forest fire quality to it. There's this raging thing, and everything is on fire. And today it's her, and I have a hair. Danielle's grooming me while we talk.
Go ahead.
I think that's not allowed. Never.
Yeah, no, I think she touched me without my. Yeah. In fact,
People just not touch each other in the
Christina,
studio.
your podcast host, just touched me.
Well, she's
I was pulling a dog hair off your sleeve.
Yeah, no, it's
But I
bad.
think
Fires
this
destroy
is really
things,
terrifying that novelists can only write what they are. So, I mean, when you follow that, so it's racial, but gender too. So women can only have women characters who are their skin hue. Men can only write about. When you follow the absolute logic of this argument, that's the end of fiction.
It is.
Absolute
It's only
end of
memoir
fiction.
is left, and actually, and
and even memoirs are questionable because you have to authentically represent
the stories of
groups.
others.
So if it's Ayaan Hirsi Ali,
Very good point.
who is
excellent.
Somalian and brilliant and all that, but she apparently doesn't count, or a Salman
Because
Rushdie.
or
she's been a
Clarence
critic
Thomas.
of
She's
been
a
a critic of
critic.
Islam, of this Islam extremism, which drove her out of Somalia.
Yeah.
She faced death threats. She wrote this incredible memoir. She's been on the podcast. But that's right. That you also then, it's not just enough your skin color. It has to be
You really
the
have
right
to have the
representation.
politics, the same
Right. That's exactly right. You have to-
worldview of the intellectual, progressive elite.
And one of the dangerous things for anyone who is actually pursuing the art of fiction, let's say, is that these purity tests are applied in a random way. I mean, they're not necessarily random. They're those who depart politically can easily find themselves come in for it. But people they've ingratiated themselves with all the right people and they've propitiated all the right gods. It can all turn on them in a second. I mean, it's really
And we see that you never know who's going to be the next victim, and now there's a kind of, they keep expanding the category of offense, and you don't know. You could be walking into a trap. You may be up on all of your, woke dogmas, but you could walk into a trap.
But that also, if you're writing, I know the novelist Lionel Shriver, who is
Exactly.
a woman, has been criticized for only portraying white characters. She's white. But she's included characters of color, and
That's
been told,
appropriative.
how dare you portray characters of color? You're white. So
she's very brave. Actually,
she's very
one of the
brave,
very
and
few
she's
who
spoken out
speak
about
Mark
it.
Twain, that whole character of Jim, he would be in big trouble. Even
Harriet
though
Beecher Stowe.
right. Well,
raised consciousness, changed the world.
It started that war.
That little woman that started.
That little woman.
you said earlier, Emily, that that anyone who remembers, was it Emily said East Germany, or that was not fun times. If you read all that literature of that time of dissident writers, I mean, this is everybody turns on each other.
Oh, God.
Like you are not safe just because you are in the cancel that person space now. You will be canceled next.
But Danielle, you are less safe because it's not.
Right.
There's not really any fun in canceling a Trump supporting novelist. it's only fun to impose. It's really fun to impose purity tests in your own tribe
That's
and
true.
expel someone from your own
And
tribe.
that was
There's
always true
Orwell
in the
again.
Communist Party. That
Yeah,
was like,
and-
yes.
yeah,
yes.
and
Well, the Cultural Revolution.
Right.
The students turned on the professors. I mean, they destroyed
They ate
for
them in some cases.
for a
Threw them out of
generation.
windows and
For a generation, they destroyed education in the educated class. So that was rather.
Well, on that happy note, let's pause here for a word from our sponsors. We've got 3 ads this episode.
And you're going to want to hear these because we have a very
We have
a new way to present ads. It's going to
Do we?
change the.
Do we?
I don't know, but we're going to come up with something.
okay. But anyway, we have some great sponsors, so let's just take a pause and then we'll come back. Okay, Christina, I'm not going to lie. When we got a women's clothing sponsor, I was so excited. And I was especially excited that it was MM Lafleur because I'd seen their ads come across my, Facebook and everything. Wasn't sure what they were. And then I discovered it.
And they're stylish. Everything is cool.
But it's like a no-brainer of how to put a very successful wardrobe together. Now they're pitched at the working woman who's going to an office, and even the working young woman, because as you say, they're very stylish. But it's, I loved it too.
Yeah, I loved it.
You walked the dogs in it. You could find.
Well, you never know who you're going to meet on a dog walk, and I don't like to look like a schlemiel.
And the site, when I went through it, it has all the models are in different sizes, so you can see the same garment on a skinny model that we're used to, but also large
Plus
sizes,
size model, like
sizes.
yours truly.
But anyway, MM Lafleur was founded on the idea that when women succeed in the workplace, the world becomes a better place. True. And they take the work out of dressing for work by creating functional, beautiful clothes, offering complementary personal styling, and fostering a community of remarkable women.
And if you hate shopping for work clothes but want to dress well, MM is the perfect place to start. Just visit one of their 7 showrooms across the country for a free hour-long styling appointment. And they have Prosecco in the house. So they are femsplainer forward. Or head to the mmlafleur.com to browse the collection online.
And what I loved is that you can go a la carte or you can browse their pre-styled capsule wardrobes, which include outfit inspiration and styling guidance. So I looked at the combinations, but then I also just like what I loved. I bought some just real basics, like things to wear. I bought a black knit top that you just wear under everything. But many styles are machine washable or they have an all-natural anti-odor treatment called
Polyjean. And you know what? I actually ordered one of these Polyjean sweaters because I had to do an all-night flight to London, and I wore it. And then I wore it. I did. I slept in it. You need comfortable clothes. And I wore it the next day, and this Polyjean lets you wear the garment a long time in between
smelling. And they have many deep pockets, removable shoulder pads, snap to hold your bra pad. They are fantastic, very functional. Shipping and returns are always free. You can email, chat, or text anytime with styling questions. So visit mmlafleur.com/femsplain and use promo code femsplain for 15% off your first purchase.
That's mmlafleur/femsplain, and you get 15% off your first purchase with promo code femsplain.
And next time, I'll talk about the jewelry I got because that was
I got
great
jewelry too.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's great. Okay. All right. Welcome back. We're just pouring the wine here and continuing on. Meghan, you had an article in the Wall Street Journal this past Saturday about intersectionalism in children's literature. We've been talking about this chilling effect on literature in general, but tell us about your article.
Well, okay, so I will say one thing. One of the reasons that you don't, there's a lot of kind of, either nervous or no pushback at all against intersectionality and social justice ideology is it's immensely scary to write about. You had Meghan Daum on, for instance, who wrote a book called The Problem with Everything, in which she said, I think, things that every one of us here has talked about in private, but she put it out in public. And it's scary to be critical of these people because, speaking of critical race theory, I mean, there's a lot of fire, a lot of anger, and a great urge to pull down. And
Critical mob theory.
clearly, yeah, very much so, the madness of crowds. So I wrote about the fact that I feel obliged. We've got millions of readers of the Wall Street Journal, people who go about their everyday life and they're interested in buying a children's book for their child or grandchild. They're not following this stuff necessarily. Not to say that people aren't
Probably not
switched
even
on.
a little bit.
But people don't realize, for instance, that one of the many personae non grata now is Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss
What?
has been canceled. Oh yeah.
Green eggs and ham? Because did he call the eggs green? That
No.
was
It's complicated. It goes back to the early part of his career when during the run up to the Second World War, and during the Second World War, he said he in fact created some propaganda that was anti-Japanese in an unsophisticated way that we would say. And today we would. His drawings, the language that was used, it was a different time. But context doesn't matter to the people who are here to change.
So that eradicates the Cat in the Hat?
It's my God, the Cat in the Hat. There's an entire a body of scholarship on the Cat in the Hat. That is it racist because the Cat in the Hat seems to draw on minstrel. Look, if you
The Cat in the Hat is a minstrel?
Danielle, we don't have enough time today to get into all of this.
You're shattering.
The long and the short of it is,
my
see,
God.
now you don't even know about this.
I don't know about
Barbar the elephant?
Oh gosh,
Babar.
colonialism.
Okay, Babar I get. Even at the time I was reading it to my kids, I thought the colonialism was hilarious. I loved Queen Celeste. It was funny.
Yeah.
But okay, I wouldn't ban it for that, but I get it. But Cat in the Hat?
No. So everything, absolutely everything. And can you imagine, Pat the Bunny, very heteronormative. Daddy has a little beard.
Oh,
Mommy
no,
has a
no,
ring.
not Pat the Bunny.
I don't know.
Not
They're
Pat- well, it's a
I shouldn't have
touching
mentioned
book.
it because now they're going to come
It's
for
a
it.
touching book.
It is a touching
And
book.
maybe the
And
bunny
urges
didn't
you to
consent.
touch.
The bunny didn't consent to being patted.
There's a Biden element.
Yeah, there is. It's the bunny. Touch the Biden. That would be a great.
No,
Okay.
Biden touched the head. Sorry. Okay.
Anyway, the long
Go
and the
on.
short of it is.
Go
So
on.
look, in my line of work, I see a lot of this stuff going by. I am very well aware that the people who read my column in general and people in just average families, they're unaware that this stuff is going on in the world of children's books. And it's not, again, with the forest fire metaphor or simile, it isn't just a celebrated case like Dr. Seuss. Intersectional theory, criticism against the whole idea of whiteness. This is all working its way into books, and so, there's a very positive side, and then there's a really chilling negative side. The positive side is there has been an enormous push in the past 5 years to expand the number of people from different backgrounds who are writing books, illustrating books, and telling stories from various different cultures. A lot of that is all to the good. I think. As an appreciator of human achievement, we should, any one of us should welcome, let's say myths and legends and stories drawing on cultures from all over the world. That's great. The dark side, the forest fiery side of it is that now everything, including awards ceremonies, especially awards ceremonies, everything is now being, this melanin and heritage and gender kind of meter is being put on everything. So this past week, about a week ago now, the American Library Association announced the winning prizes for the most prestigious awards in children's lit. So that's the Caldecott for picture books, that's the Prince for young adult literature, and the Newbery for it's any children's book, but it's generally speaking a middle grade book. And it's kind of extraordinary. I mean, I feel it's invidious even to say this, but it's very noticeable. Of the 13 people who won. I hope I'm getting my numbers right. 13 people who won, had books winning the top prizes, either the first prize or, the runners-up, as it were. 10 were black or of color, as they say, and 3 were white. I mean, there's just... So you look at that and you think, well, these are great books. Some of them are great books. Some of them you think, well, I wonder if, absent the color or ethnicity of the person writing the book, whether this would have had anything like the play it gets. I mean, it's dangerous to say this. I mean, it's scary to say it. I can't believe I'm saying it now. But it's what everybody sees. I mean, you talk to people in my industry, everyone sees it, and everyone is terrified to say anything about it.
Well, but as you say, there doesn't seem to be anything intrinsically wrong, even if there is an explicit or implicit decision on the part of the award givers to say, you know what, these kinds of books have not been written enough, published enough. We have not attracted enough people outside of a narrow band to this profession. We've got some great books, and let's celebrate them. That seems fine to me. What I've noticed, read about, is this thing we were talking about vis-a-vis American Dirt, which seems absolutely epidemic in at least young adult fiction. This, you cannot write about outside of who you are, and that seems a much more serious situation than perhaps then expanding who writes children's books and maybe making a decision to celebrate them.
A distinction that may be helpful is that I think that what we're seeing is a battle between two paradigms. And as I used to think of myself as a progressive liberal, my idea was sort of humanistic, that you wanted to, as Danielle said, just expand and include more people, more stories, more multicultural, and find the great stories from different cultures.
Absolutely.
All that was fine because the idea is that we have a common humanity, and it doesn't matter your ethnicity, your race. There are creative geniuses or just great writers who can tell stories, but who speak to all of us. And these books can come from anywhere. That's the humanistic ideal, and so the intersectional paradigm, they would say, your so-called humanistic ideal is really just male privilege or
white supremacy.
White supremacy,
no matter what color it is,
and it's just another way of asserting power. And so now, what they want to do is to have representation and to have groups that have previously not had a place at the table, but that's not enough. That if it was just a matter of inclusivity, that would be the liberal ideal, the humanistic ideal. But the intersectional ideal is they not only have to be marginalized groups, but they have to express the opinions and have the worldview of a kind of radical, it's basically anti-West, it's anti-American, it implicates all of the Western traditions, American traditions, in atrocities and oppression. And so we have to overthrow that, and we have to bring in people that will call that out.
Right.
So once in a while, a white writer can get in if they are antagonistic against the culture. A white children's writer could get in if they're teaching the children to have contempt. So it's all what's most salient in this writing is a kind of antagonism towards who we are and where we live, and an antagonism towards, and so...
Well, the saddest thing in the world is the openness of kids to everything. And I remember, we read a lot to our kids, and then they became themselves voracious readers, and they would pick anything if the story appealed to them. I remember reading one of the favorite books we read over and over. One of my daughters was based on this Native American telling of Cinderella, and it was wonderful. And you got to learn the culture, and it was put in a whole different context. And we just read this over and over and over. Kids are so open to everything.
Well, this is what our friends in the intersectional left are counting on.
Well,
you get to them young and you mold them.
But I don't think the kids will.
They might not do with it what
they want, and it's also once you kill the magic of a story, the kids don't fall in line. There are a lot of books. I mean, even before all of this, I remember going to the bookstore and seeing a Caldecott medal. I would just know that I would look suspiciously through the pages of that book to make sure that it wasn't just a checking of points of certain political goals, and it would be a story that my kids would really love. I mean, even when you look at Babar, kids don't get colonialism. There's no message of, English dominance in Babar. It's as if someone was on drugs who wrote that. I'm sure he was. I mean, imagine this elephant who goes to Paris and gets a suit. I mean, it's like elitism, and then does exercises in a French lady's apartment.
He's setting up exercises. They're
setting up exercise, and then he goes back in his little suit to his African. It's hilarious. The kids just love it, but there's no, I don't think there's any untoward lesson that Babar comes back in his suit and attempts to dominate the other tribes.
All right, we're not going to go there.
Okay, I clearly
Moving on.
I missed the point of that one, but
This all makes me think of this article maybe everyone saw within the past couple of weeks of the most checked out book from the New York Public Library, which is The Snowy Day. I think it came out around 1964. It's a children's book. It's about a little boy in New York out in the snow, and it shows him with his mother going out. It's just absolutely exquisite and magical.
Do you remember he brings a snowball in, and and then he has to have a bath, and then the snowball's gone. It's so lovely.
It's
welcome to
exquisite.
real life, kid.
The boy, the family, is black.
Yeah.
And at that time, that was so unusual.
Yeah.
Nothing was made of it in the text, but the power of that book, of the millions and millions and millions of people who've seen it, and as Meghan informed me, the author is white. So would he be able to
it's an open
make
question,
a
I think.
snowy day today?
He might. There's a wonderful book
Couldn't be called A Snowy Day.
Oh, that's whiteness.
Exactly.
Unless you're in the city, and then it's grayness.
Yes.
I think a book, first of all, that is an exquisite book. And there is a lot of very high quality, beautiful work coming out in the children's book world. So I don't want to calumniate the whole, the whole world. It might be difficult, though. You're right. There might be some, people might look askance at how he portrays the mother. I believe in that book, if I remember correctly, is a bit wide.
Large.
Yeah. And that might be, Christina, I think you're aware of these issues of how that, that could be a fat-shaming thing for all we know.
Are you?
I'm just saying, for Christina,
She's
it's
kind of
large.
looking at you.
Am I the example of the fat?
No, it's just you're the person who's
Whoa.
the funniest on that subject every time it comes up. I apologize. I in no
whoa.
way. Hold on. I think I
Whoa.
just transgressed one of the rules.
I think
number
you
was
did.
it? Did I make an?
You're making comments.
Was I not?
do not
respectful?
comment on people's body
appearance.
or sex appeal.
But I was repeatedly flirting with her. Doesn't that count?
And we would agree that Christina has a marvelous sex appeal. Okay, we're going to take another quick break and then come back because Christina has something about defending rock stars who sleep with roadies, I think. We're coming back to that. We're coming back to that. We're so happy to welcome Brooklinen back to the podcast as a sponsor because we love their products. And making your home beautiful is the ultimate form of self-care. And what better time than the new year to care for yourself?
And you spend about a third of your life in sheets, so don't you want them to be insanely comfortable? And this year, it's time to get comfortable, like with new bedding, loungewear, towels, and more.
It was founded in early 2014 by husband and wife Vicky and Rich Follop, who wanted to find beautiful home essentials that didn't cost an arm and a leg, with a mission to make you more comfortable.
Brooklinen was the first DTC bedding company, meaning they work directly with manufacturers and directly with customers, no middlemen, just a great product and a great service.
All luxury products without the luxury marks up. So like softness, comfort, essentials to help you relax, Brooklinen has it all. Brooklinen.com is the perfect place to hit refresh in the new year. Go on, make yourself comfortable, cozy. Brooklinen is so confident in their product that all their sheets, comforters, loungewear, and towels come with a lifetime warranty.
So get 10% off of your first order, free shipping on all new sheets when you use promo code FEMSPLAIN. Only at brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com.
Promo code FEMSPLAIN. Brooklinen. Everything you need to live your most comfortable life. Okay, Christina, so you pulled a story this week on some indie band guy who kind of cute, who was
maybe not.
He's maybe
Like
not your
in my
type.
time, maybe not cute enough for me, but
But
I'd probably
anyway,
give him a tumble.
He's had a
Okay, sorry. All right, I'm a cute person.
Inappropriate.
I'm from the 60s.
he's been Me Too'd, and we probably haven't even heard of him, but it's too late.
It's this obscure band, and they went.
But rising band, right? Like rising band.
I don't even know what the hell this means, that it's a rising indie band, but it's a rising indie band. So the New Yorker has a story, and then the wonderful, indispensable Kathy Young analyzes it brilliantly in, oh God, where'd she analyze it? Axis? What's this thing?
Arc Digital.
Arc Digital.
Digital.
She analyzes it in Arc Digital. So they have the story about this indie band, his alleged sexual misconduct. Now, his misconduct was that he was out on tour, and it was this little band. Nobody was making any money. They were just a bunch of kids, and there was a girl in the support. What do you call it? In the crew, and they had an affair, consensual roadie affair, and then afterwards they break apart. She thinks about it, and then somehow through some weird person, some intermediary, some psychologist for roadie bands, whatever that is.
Apparently it exists.
It exists. Must have learned about it and reported that this was exploitation and that it was a Me Too situation. That he, as the lead singer, had more power than this girl who was the member of the crew.
Well,
and then, long story.
obviously.
What?
Christina, can I
Think that's kind of the fun of
No,
it.
but listen to, of course,
Yeah.
but listen to this. If I may just jump in here. This is, it says, he really had no control over me, she says. This presumably comes from the New Yorker. But in the bubble of tour, I really felt like he did. And then it goes on to say, the relationship ended soon after the tour, and she says that it took her a while to figure out that even though there had been no violence in the relationship, she felt damaged by it. And she wanted Hall to take some time to reflect on the damage he had done. There's that language of damage and harm again.
And he, I thought, also said that this was like they had a really good relationship. This wasn't like a one-night stand. She broke up with her other boyfriend for him. They were really...
Well, that's probably part of the problem.
You know what? There was a
Stay
law
together.
called
There is.
alienation of affections. In the 19th century, you could
That's
take
so true.
You could
That's so
take a
true.
man to court for
Not the woman, the alienated man.
no, the woman.
His fiance would have accused another man of alienated
Yes,
affections. Right.
And it almost seems as we're going back to a Victorian era, where you can take a man to court or destroy him in some way, because he has behaved inappropriately.
No, because life has hurt you in some way. And we are setting women up to believe everything is supposed to be a peak experience.
Yeah.
It's a binary. It's either peak or someone's going to pay. And this is inhuman. It's crazy. It is damaging, not just to people who get accused, but the women themselves who are going to go through life not able to cope with the normal vicissitudes of life. You go on a tour, you have an affair, I hope you had some fun, and then you move on. If you feel like, you know what, I should have stuck with my original boyfriend. He turned out to be more of a jerk than I thought. Isn't that what we call life?
Yeah.
But because of Me Too, which we all agree is a fantastic, important corrective that has exposed many horrible things that need to stop, but it quickly went into this kind of dangerous territory where your life hurts, can be litigated, and you can get even. And this band went off the road for a year, and the New Yorker is writing about their tour and raises the New Yorker writer, has the lead singer atoned enough? For what?
For what? For having
I mean,
an
part of
affair
why
on
you
a
become a
road?
lead singer in a band, everyone used to agree,
I thought
was
that was the whole
you
point.
could have a lot of sex.
Give the girl this. The guy didn't even have any money. Like, he's not even a rock star, you know? Like, it's not even a shakedown.
But then you get this power dialectic from the New Yorker is so everyone's agreeing no one made money. At one point she says, well, I think if there had been HR, it might have helped me. I don't think you're going to get traveling HR on an indie band.
Lame band. You started in your garage, you know.
But here's the New Yorker. Of course, the leader of a burgeoning band nevertheless wields plenty of influence, no matter how little money he makes. Every rock concert involves a power dynamic. Even at an egalitarian basement show, a small number of people make most of the noise, and a larger number of people do most of the listening.
Insane.
Now, how do you get through life if you're in the checkout line and you got 12 items and you're in a 10-item line? Do you have the power because you have the money, or does the checker have the power because the checker says more than 10, get out of line? I mean, if you go through life with everything is an attack on my lack of power, you can't function. And to take a band off the road, to have the New Yorker a year later not say, what the hell happened here? This is insane. But to say, perhaps he didn't pay a big enough price for having a consensual affair with an adult woman. That's really crazy.
Yeah, well, the New Yorker is one of the root fires now, right? It's feeding this rather than...
I'm loving your fire analogy.
I love
Thank
the
you.
fire.
Well, I've got fire on the mind because of this, the Australian stuff, and also I've been asked so many times recently, you know, what are great books to read about timely events, and I say there's a book about the fires. Actually,
what is it?
It's called Ash Road. I cannot recommend it enough. It's a wonderful. It won many prizes when it first came out. I think it was published in I'm going to forget 1963, 64.
Oh, so it's an oldie, but
It's an oldie, but it's fantastic. And the way this author Ivan Southall, you have Australian connections. You might know this name.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. Well, Ivan Southall has a way with, I can't do it, but he has a wonderful way with language. You know, there's that idea that people who live in the far north have 1,000 words for snow.
Yeah.
He has 1,000 ways of describing
Beer?
Not in this book. No, but fire, and it's extraordinary, kind of the ways that it changes shape and the ways that it transforms things that it touches. And
it travels underground.
And it travels underground, and it travels, as we know from the recent stuff in Australia, it travels over as well. So it's called Ash Road, and I cannot recommend it enough.
Okay, so Christina just did this very angry signal to me.
I saw that.
Bartender.
I was overserved.
You were underserved. She said, open another bottle of wine. Her cheap crab, I just served some really nice white wine, but she's got some now cheap red. So we're going to take one last pause, and we're going to come back because I have a story about being a trad wife. This is a new term, and we're going to talk about it when we come back. Christina, you and I have talked about how ferocious we are about nice lighting in our lives.
People don't realize it's key to happiness and well-being.
I know, and we do these videos in this studio, and the lighting is appalling.
So appalling. And what's going on right now?
I don't know. And if you go into those dressing rooms in department stores, you know what bad lighting can do to you. So with all the money you've spent to make your home beautiful, don't let it go to waste without good lighting. Lamps Plus has been helping customers love their everyday spaces for over 40 years with chandeliers, ceiling lights, table lamps, and more. And the light itself is like jewelry for the home.
Oh, I love that, jewelry for the home. Mm-hmm. And Lamps Plus is the nation's largest lighting retailer with over 55,000 designs from top brands and their own exclusive designs in lighting, home furnishings, and decor.
You don't have to guess at what the designs will look like or wander around the aisles of a big box store. Lamps Plus has videos with design tips and all the photos on their site to tell you which light fixtures or furniture pieces are featured. So it's easy to buy what you like.
And they also have a large selection of Minka Lavery lighting to transform your home into something wonderful. Minka Lavery is known for designs that blend function and style using innovative materials.
So get up to 50% off hundreds of lights, furniture, and decor.
That's 50% off during this special sale going on now.
Go to lampsplus.com/femsplain to start saving today. Okay, so really, Christina, you guys, as you know, I just love the British press. I can't get enough of it. And honestly, what would we do without it on this show? Because this is from...
The Daily Mail?
No, not the
The
Daily Mail.
US
From the
Sun.
Sun. Oh, but yeah, see, these British things are doing now U.S. versions like the Daily Mail, but they remain British in spirit. And this story that says, a mum has revealed her life's ambition is to be a trad wife and explained
A traditional wife.
why women should submit to their husband like it's 1959. So this is a woman who is 34. Her name is Petite. Okay. Where she said she's from the Cotswolds and she runs something called the Darling
Oh,
Academy.
that's a lovely name. The
Darling Academy, like Peter Pan, right? The Darling family.
Yes.
A finishing school for women who want to, quote, embrace a feminine, grace-filled, and elegant lifestyle.
That sounds like Christina.
Yes.
Yes, it does.
And you.
All of us.
But
really.
Meghan, doesn't your British husband call you darling?
He darling, but it's not with an H. It's spelt here with an R. She also pens blog posts on the website entitled "Your Husband Should Always Come First." Oh, these are new conference rules. And the new Stepford, I'm proud to be a traditional wife. She also spoke about her lifestyle on the BBC Stories series and says being a trad wife, we have to come up with a nicer
It's
term,
a terrible term.
is about
I think domestic goddess.
submitting to and spoiling her husband like it's 1959.
It's a wonderful idea, but she obviously doesn't have children yet.
It was all, she said, it was all kind of let's fight the boys and go out and be independent and break glass ceilings. But I just felt like I was born to be a mother and a wife. Now, I want to just reveal something here because over the past, I don't know, Meghan, have we been friends for like over 20 years?
So long, yeah. Great.
We
40 years. Didn't you meet in
1900? No, we both had very small children together.
Yes.
Well, that
Not
sounds-
together.
Although
They're more trad than that. I had them with my husband. You had yours with your
You
husband.
did have an ecstatic lesbian experience at those mud baths, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh my God, we can't talk about that.
Rasul.
Rasul,
That was
stop.
our ecstatic mud
Okay, this-
experience.
this-
to come on a later episode.
Later.
To
We
come
can
on a
tease
later
that.
episode. We can tease that. But we had, we raised parallel play, as it were, raising our small children together. And we were both ambitious people. We were writers, so we could stay at home.
Yes, perfect career.
Perfect career if you want to do that. But we were always having these in the complete absence of role models for women who wanted to stay at home or could stay at home, and yet we're not old-fashioned, we're not trad wives, but yet kind of secretly enjoyed all the things of being at home and being with your kids. You know, we kind of were always struggling.
Oh, it
over
was so
this.
difficult. And I remember I had a lot of pushback from my own, my
Your mother.
I'd worked as a journalist. I was a foreign correspondent. I had my first baby, and I kept working as a
She
foreign
was almost
correspondent.
kidnapped in Bangladesh or somewhere.
Somalia, but anyway, but I had my first baby and I kept traveling. I'll tell you something. If I could go back in time and spend more time with that baby, the first baby, instead of traveling to kind of keep my identity, I would go back in a flash.
Did you get weren't you had rubber bullets filed?
Yeah, that was
in
my
Ireland while you were pregnant.
That was my moment on the road to Damascus. I thought, this is insane. What am I doing here 6 months pregnant in the middle of an altercation between Protestants and Catholics? So yeah. It took me a long time to wake up to the beauty of being at home,
But
with
not
my
be
children.
woke.
But not woke. Certainly not. No, I will never wake. But I will stay asleep forever. But where am I going with this?
How hard it was.
Yes,
to
because it
find.
was so hard to know. So I remember my mother saying, "Well, now that you're by the wayside." I thought, I'm not by the wayside. I'm still me. I still did everything I've done, and I'm still going to do more things, you know? It was just this, we had a lot of, I think you and I both faced a lot of prejudice from our environment. I remember one woman who had been a radio reporter like me, and we ran into each other in Washington after I decided to sort of essentially break with full-time work for a couple of years. And she said, she looked at me, and her face kind of crinkled with incredulity. She said, "What do you do all day?" You know? Extraordinary devaluing. No,
of course not.
no. But the idea of a woman at home. I mean, this is all a million years ago now, and I don't know I can't imagine what it looks like now for young women. But
You would be exhausted.
yeah, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
So it didn't. Well, we did have the internet, but it wasn't
We
stressing
were
us out
the
yet.
internet. We were the entertainment.
Well, do you think?
But we were trad wives. You know?
Do you think younger women do feel more ability to make choices to go in and out of the workforce, or you think they're getting the same pressure that you? What are you doing? You're giving it all
I
up.
don't think so, because
You
even
don't- which way?
Well, no, I don't think they do feel that liberation, because even we've talked about this before, that we grew up, we're still in a time where still certain ideas, roles bled into our culture from the 60s and the 70s. And I think now the problem is that roles between young women and men are so expected to be identical. Yeah. There was some pressure then that we were going to, we're going to share the kids, we're going to share loading the dishwasher, et cetera, et cetera.
I share by doing it 99% of the time. That's how I share.
And I think that's still true today, by the way.
Right.
But you would assert, like you felt the need to assert that.
Right.
But now I think there's probably complete bafflement among, a couple that does get married, they do have kids, and suddenly,
She's much more connected and interested in domesticity, and he's like not quite
where
there.
did that come
Where
from?
did that come from?
Where did that come from? So I don't know. It's the continuing problem.
Have you all noticed? I don't know if the rest of you are as avid readers of the New York Times wedding page as.
I've always loved it.
Okay, so I read it every week for decades. I mean, there used to be me and my contemporaries in it, and now the children of contemporaries. But they've made a new change. If the parent was a stay-at-home parent, they'll say, daughter of so-and-so and so-and-so, he is a lawyer, she was a stay-at-home parent. You haven't noticed this. So I've been looking. I've not seen one father stay-at-home parent.
No, of course not.
But I have been
parent as opposed to mother.
I've been very startled by how many. Now, these are young people, obviously, in their 20s and 30s. How many women made the choice? Because you see a lot, he did X, mother was a stay-at-home parent. Sometimes it has something like, mother in 1982 was an executive at blah, 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 and then left to become a stay-at-home parent. And I reading it, I have this funny feeling about, is this honoring what they did, or is it kind of,
disparaging it?
Yeah, I think it's so subjective. It's probably a, Rorschach how you see that, but that has been added.
But it's almost as if now being a stay-at-home mother is for the elites.
Yes, super
yes,
lukes.
yes,
Super lukes.
yes.
And you look into, someone actually did a study, what happens to women who are, there's like a small coterie of women who have IQs that are just off the charts and who are exquisitely beautiful. What do? They stay home.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
That's right. It's the ultimate
and
status symbol.
They
Ultimate status
marry like fabulous men, but and I know one woman like this, and they do brilliant things at home, on their own time.
And they may do brilliant things also after their children are up and out. I mean,
Yes, because now life is.
But I think this is still true, and I wrote this in What Our Mothers Didn't Tell Us in the 90s, which was, it was already becoming an elite thing. And a husband could say, my wife could be earning $200,000 a year, but she's at home. And it's like having
Meaning
a
I'm the
thoroughbred.
big earner.
But it's also like, I have this thoroughbred in my stable that I just take out for pleasure rides, you know. But we said when Marissa Orr was on, you did this funny quiz about if you had the choice.
Oh yeah, take my quiz.
Take the quiz. I wanted to add something to that. You asked Ella and Marissa and
I liked
me,
Ella's answer, and I agree with it.
about if you had the choice to be an all-powerful woman, have the corner office, and I added the great suit, could
Mistress of the universe.
mistress of the universe, or, and you specified, a beloved wife of a successful
master of
man
the
of the
universe.
master of the universe.
Faithful to you, love you.
Which would you take? And after we said that, I was thinking about it, and I thought this is something that it really never comes up for men.
Right.
To this day, a man doesn't make that choice. In fact, if he's going to be a master of the universe, the assumption is he has a wife at home doing all of this.
Or a husband.
What's your point?
Danielle.
Or a husband.
What's the point?
I don't know. The point is that women still face this either or.
But you do also.
And I'm not
see
saying that it's
power
like
couples.
sexist.
I knew,
Yeah.
you
I'm
know,
not
when
saying
my
it's
daughter was growing up,
You
there
guys
were
are
a
a
lot
power
sexist,
couple. I mean, you have a daughter and you're a power couple. You and John. Come on. There's so
we're
much
power,
IQ in those two are
we're
together.
power schleppers. No, real. I mean, you know, I knew real power couples where they were both had rocketing careers, but also, and this may be, you know, this.
But even
I'm
as a
talking
third
about.
choice, even as a third choice, if I could be a power couple, we should add a third choice because I'd
Power
still
couple?
rather be at home, just left alone writing and.
Yeah, but you're a misanthrope. But go on, Emily. Sorry.
I have seen, and this may be just a function of being lucky enough to be in the elite, to have you know, someone earning enough money so that you can take time off to have attained the education. I know a whole bunch of women who were going to work part-time, ended up leaving the workplace entirely for many years, and then in their late 40s, 50s, the kids are off at college, have had Zooming careers, really just unbelievable careers. And
If they did
obviously
it
not
young
everyone can do that. What?
Right. And if they did it young enough, because that's the other thing, it's one thing to
Yep.
be trying to re-enter the
Right.
hard enough when you're in your 40s, let
Right.
alone try do it in your 50s.
Right.
You mean re-entering the childbearing years at 45 or
Oh,
something?
well, that's
People
hard
do.
too. Oh, my God. That's my nightmare.
I would have a child right now if I could.
Really?
I would, absolutely. I regret not
And name it
having more.
Izzy.
Yeah.
No,
No.
I think Lulu, or I want a girl because I've had 2 boys.
Yeah.
No, it's just like
Why didn't you?
I know. I wish I had
baby.
Get
five
on the
and I wish I had
grandparent.
more,
That's
yeah.
a grandparent.
Yeah, that's
lawn.
true.
that's
That's
coming.
grandparent. Well, this woman, Elena,
trad wife.
the trad wife from the Darlene Academy, she says, okay, here's the other thing she says. She says she likes to, okay, this is a bit of a stereotype, I'm sorry. Mimicking the 50s lifestyle, Elena fixes her husband a drink when he gets in and puts on some lipstick, adding tracksuits and greasy hair isn't a good look for anyone.
Come on, that's sensible for any woman. You don't have to be a state. I mean, of course.
even if you're a working, CEO, you don't want to look like a schlemiel when you're.
Well, this is I think the problem with, especially when you're a young mother. By the way, my husband David has been going through digitizing all our old family movies. So I'm looking at old movies of myself, just thinking like, how did I do it? Birthday parties. And you were just on call all the time. But anyway, yeah, I mean, look, I think the problem is this. That I try to do this now. I don't have to be on that level of duty that I was. But I do try, even if just for myself, if I want to put it in an empowering way, not to be in my gym clothes all the time, which would be my... Oh, Megan.
I'm kind of in athleisure today.
Megan is at athleisure. But try not... Look, you're wearing... You brushed your hair. I mean, I think in any marriage...
Hot yoga, okay?
She does hot yoga. But she's... You have to... You don't want your husband to look like a schlepper. I think it's putting it in these...
It's self-respect, isn't it?
It's
And respect for the people-
self-respect.
I have none. I stole my
Self-respect.
husband's sweatpants when I was pregnant. Our daughter's
And
24.
never given
I
them
never
back.
gave them back. And I pair it with oversized whale sweatshirt
Oh,
that we
that
got
is
on a
so
whale
sexy.
Because
Oh
she's
my
so
God.
cute. She can get away
bet,
with
yeah.
That is crazy sexy.
And bare feet,
retirement.
and she curls up in a little bearskin
don't
rug and looks
forget
delicious.
the night guard. It's sexy time at our.
Oh, night guard. That's
Night guard
But
and
that's
a
not.
tea.
But you're not wearing one of those trumpet items that people wear over their faces to keep from
A
snoring?
CPAP?
Yeah.
No, I don't have. Thank you, Megan. I don't wear a CPAP.
I need one, honestly.
Can I just say though? I'm going to admit to it. I make my husband a drink. I do, and he
what's
will.
wrong with that?
He will.
Danielle is a
wife.
trad
He will
wife.
sometimes make. He will often. Sorry, he will often make me a drink. Like, why does this have to be some cartoon of the 1950s? Why can't you just
Because otherwise,
Be
you
nice
don't get in
to
the
each
paper.
other.
be nice to each other?
Right.
But here's what I
That's
every
very hard
morning.
for me, though.
is that I think the wife should always be the wife, but be your husband's mistress.
Yes, this
and
is
then
great
the
advice.
husband-
What does he have a mistress for? No.
That's why you obviate
Oh,
the need
I
for a mistress.
see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got to
You are
get
the
Okay.
the call.
mistress
Yeah, quickly.
to your
Get
husband.
rid
and
of
then
that sweatshirt.
I advise the guy, she should be this goddess
Yeah.
that you worship and admire and have gratitude. And then don't criticize each other.
This is the best relationship advice that is available. It's unbelievable that the Femsplainers people can listen to this without paying.
Yeah.
Christina, that advice, you could probably string it out into a whole kind of industry because it's the best advice that anyone, you are so good. I remember when I first met Christina and I heard her say something a little along these lines, I thought, I want every single one of my children to have the tutorial from Christina into how to have a happy marriage when the time comes.
Yeah.
And we've got one married off already. We have a couple more possibly teeing up, so I may need to send them to you.
And there was a recent study. It didn't prove exactly what I said, but the key, if you want to stay married and be happy, it's not that you have to be raising their self-esteem, although I think that's a good idea. Don't say unforgivable things. When you have a fight, zip it. Don't go personal. Don't go nuclear. Just tell them how you feel. That makes me feel, don't say you are a loser,
I say that all the time.
Even though
Poor David.
they
I
will
know, poor
never
David.
forget it,
Right.
and it will poison. You've put poison into the relationship.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I think on that note, we're going to wind up our cocktail party. Losers.
Like,
She's poison.
But I want to, Megan, I'm so grateful to you for you should be paying for this because you honestly should. We need our listeners' support. We have a lot of support on Patreon. I want to let our listeners know that we are also now on something called Glow. If you subscribe to Glow, it's $10 a month. You can get access to our Last Call monthly after show. And she's had enough.
my rants.
Christina's rants. It's amazing how many people really want to pay for your rants.
Oh
but
boy, have
your
I
rants-
got one today.
Yeah, your rants are great. And by the way, we're also starting a monthly newsletter, which you can get access to. We're also on something, it's still in a bit of beta mode, but it's called ThinkSpot. And you go to ThinkSpot and you put in a promotion code of Femsplainers, and you will have access to that too. So it's the same bonus content on Patreon, Glow, and ThinkSpot. And by the way, this is all going to be uploaded to our website, so you don't have to remember any of this. And you can just go to femsplainers.com and find how you can support us. But we really, really need it. We rely on your support, and we're very grateful for it. And wanted to thank you guys. Thank
for
you.
having
Yeah,
us.
thanks for having us. So fun.
Oh man, I don't think we got to half of the
I know.
topic.
I wanted to
I
talk
was
about
just
how.
reviewing this list of things you shouldn't do at professional conferences.
What else would you do?
all of them?
Engage in sexual behavior such as touching someone anally.
Oh my God!
that what you were
I am so busted.
I did not know that. Engaging in sexual
Where is that?
Does it say anally?
It says engage. It's at page 3.
I saw it.
What? No.
Engaging in sexual behavior, e.g., touching
the buttocks.
But
No.
Anal.
There's definitely do not engage
Anal or vaginal?
without a person's consent.
I wonder. You're in the lineup to get your badges, and then suddenly from behind. Okay, we're ending
You know
this.
what? Maybe we should all join this society because their conferences sound really wild.
Yeah, I know. All right, we're ending this. We're ending this. Goodbye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Femsplainers. Keep up with us on Twitter and Facebook at Femsplainers and on Instagram at Femsplainers Podcast. Send questions and comments to contact@femsplainers.com.
A big thanks to Ella Ryder, our research and in-studio production assistant, and to Nat Frum, our audio and video editor. And we're proud to be part of the Ricochet Network and grateful to the American Enterprise Institute for allowing us to record in its studio every week in downtown Washington, D.C.
And miss something? You'll find everything you need at our homepage, femsplainers.com, including links to past episodes, our sponsors, where you can sign up to support us, and even to merch. And please don't forget to like us or give us 5 stars on iTunes.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.